welcome everyone to the call. We're getting started here in just 2 seconds, but it's wonderful to have you all on.
All right, I think we'll go ahead and get started. So yes, echoing Andrew's welcomes, we're hoping to talk to you guys, all of you today, about some summer opportunities. Just some logistical notes on the start. We're starting with everybody muted, but you are more than welcome to ask any questions in the chat. And then we will unmute folks towards the end for a question and answer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Madonna Gamble. I am the Tech Center Program Manager. I've had the pleasure to recently join the DHF family in January. I've been working in youth development in Baltimore for about a little over 15 years, and I really am dedicated to the development of our youth having access to enrichment resources through DHF.
And my name is Mary Reisenwitz. I've been at DHF for almost 5 years now. I've worked in direct facilitation, including youth during camps and after-school programs. Now I do a variety of special projects, a lot of design and content writing. So we've been working together, Madonna and I, on compiling some resources for this summer. Also on the call, we have Andrew Coy. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself, Andrew.
Andrew Coy, Executive Director of Digital Harbor Foundation, former Baltimore City school teacher, and I've had the opportunity to work a little bit on the national stage, but I'm glad to be in my role here.
Awesome. And I think Ashley might also be on our call. She is an elementary, she was formerly the elementary program coordinator, and now she works as a content developer for us. And so we've been working to create some resources for elementary youth, so she may hop in periodically as folks have questions there. But yeah, so that's all of us from the DHF side, the DHF team.
Topics covered for today will be decision to cancel in-person campus, new initiatives at DHF, offerings for mid-high youth, offerings for elementary youth, registration, and questions and answer. Likely we will not be going until 8 p.m., but we wanted to make sure that we're leaving time for extended questions and answers. In reference to our decision to cancel in-person camps, the main reasons are that most of our camp programs are set to happen inside. We have a few doors and windows to open. We share a lot of surfaces and common spaces. We'd only be able to have about 20 people at a time inside the building, 10 in each room. More equitable access to our virtual programming would allow more participants than if we were to attempt to have in-person programming. We're still having real concerns about safety and the spread of the virus in our community. And with us being committed to everyone's health, we feel that this is the best solution.
So I want to say also that we've really missed youth and families in our space. Having youth and serving our community directly has been really critical to us for more than 7 years. But we recognized that in a time of crisis, our priorities need to shift. And so we found a number of other really important ways to serve our community that still seem aligned with our mission. And we want to give you all some context into the new work that DHF has been doing. Essentially, these efforts break down into 3 key areas relating to what we call the digital divide. And we are focusing our efforts to increase internet access, device access, and access to youth employment opportunities. We're doing our best in these 3 areas, and we're excited to tell you more. So to start out, we want to talk about Project Waves, which is a community internet service provider. This means that they're getting families connected to internet directly in our community here in Baltimore. They are specifically focused on connecting low-income families to the internet. They've connected 35 households to date, and their goal is ambitiously to connect 750 families this year. We're really proud of this work, and the initiative is founded by Adam Boumad, who some of you may know from DHF over the many years that he's been here. He's been a camp counselor, so he's a face that you recognize, and we value him on our extended team. You can find out more about this project by going to projectwaves.net. You can also ask any of us about this initiative. Another key initiative is our tech lending library. And originally, we designed this program to serve teachers who needed technology in their classrooms. This could be anything from 3D printers to laptops to electronics kits. But obviously, when schools shut down, the need was no longer in the classroom, the need was at home. And our goal became to serve youth and families who needed devices, specifically laptops and tablets, to learn and work from home. Our goal is to serve more than 250 families by the end of July. We've been working really hard over the last 2 months to get this up and running. And we've been serving the community also in partnership with the Baltimore Digital Equity Coalition. It's made up of more than 50 organizations focusing on bridging the digital divide. We are sort of consolidating our device drive and distribution efforts with all these other orgs, which is really exciting. So you can find more information about our efforts on our website via the link here, or you can access it through the coalition's website, which is just digitalequitybaltimore.org. And thirdly, we've been focusing on youth employment. We have piloted a new Future of Work curriculum, and this is developed in partnership directly with the Mayor's Office of Economic Development in Baltimore. They're the office that runs YouthWorks in the city. And we've developed training and resources for 3 key areas: digital literacy and communication, web development, and participatory action research. This content is developed on our end to serve youth in a new virtual employment landscape. We've worked really hard at the beginning of this crisis to ensure that youth would retain their employment placement through YouthWorks, even if that meant that they were able to do it virtually. Now there are more youth that are able to go back to work on site, which is good and exciting. But we still believe that this content, these resources are really valuable. And they've been enhanced by the 6 years that we've been employing youth in technical fields, right? Whether that's from our web shop to our print shop to having YouthWorks employees assist with summer camps.
Thank you, Mary. Now that you know more about what we've been doing, we want to share some opportunities for you to learn this summer. For our mid-high Future of Work curriculum, we want to share our resources we've developed for youth employees with our broader community. We believe these resources have high value for youth and guardians alike. This experience will be more independent than for youth employees. We're looking at 7 weeks of programming beginning June 29th to August 14th. The first 2 weeks will be more open-ended as we gather feedback about what supports are needed.
And as part of that curriculum, we wanted to create a new tool that was more open and equitable for participants. Part of our experience with the tech lending library, what came out of that was realizing that lots of folks, youth and adults, need access to resources for free. So we developed a new tool that combines content that we've developed over time, as well as curated resources that we found from our broader community of makers and education contacts. Specifically for the summer, we have been working to create curated playlists that will showcase these resources. These will include potentially additional prompts for independent learning, but it's a great opportunity to access this content. this database will continue to grow over time, and it'll continue to be available after this program ends. So after August 14th, it'll still be available. And another exciting feature is that youth can sort by their interests and what kind of devices they're using, which I'll demo in 1 second. But the most important thing is that this resource is free. You don't need to log in or sign up to use it. That's a little different than we've done things in the past, and we're hoping that this is a new model that can work for more people. So this resource is still in its prototyping phase. We're launching it on June 29th, which is when registration will go live as well. So that's not this upcoming Monday, but the Monday after that. This is a brief view of what this tool looks like. And I'm gonna actually demo it for you now. Again, this is a prototype, so we're fixing some of the interface pieces, but you can see here at the top that there are a number of pathways, include tech literacy, fabrication, electronics, communication, computer science, and design. And we've also sorted resources based on the operating system that different people might be using. So for instance, if you were using a Windows machine for the first time, you might say, hey, I need some resources on tech literacy, and I'm using a Windows, and you can sort specifically for those resources. Yes, no. And then in addition to that, you can sort for other general resources. So I might say, hey, I'm just looking for some communication tools, and you'll find a lot of resources, including those about G Suite apps, including Chrome and Google Calendar, all this good stuff. We have extensive lessons written here ourselves, and we link externally to other resources. So this, you can see, will link to Google Calendar help ticket, but there are other resources that link directly to YouTube pages. So if, for instance, you're interested in using a Makey for the first time, you can find resources in this database, and it'll take you directly to YouTube. So this is a patchwork quilt of a bunch of resources that we have determined are really valuable. The playlists will allow you to work through these resources in an order that makes sense. So that's what's going to be most applicable for this summer, but there will be more resources available here than what's covered just in the summer alone. So this is an exciting tool that we're happy to launch and happy to have youth and families start accessing.
Although this is an more independent resource, we want to provide you all with supports for both the youth and the parents. For the first 2 weeks after the launch, we will open up a help desk request system, one channel for communications and questions, and this will allow us to gather information about participants and possible struggles and questions. After that, we will offer a more robust support from youth and full-time staff. July 13th through August 14th, text message hotline will be available to youth and families. Office hours for youth, and as well for office hours for parents and guardians. More details about the dates and times for these supports will be coming soon. You will have info upon registration, June 29th. We will also be able to expand support infrastructure if time permits and demand increases. In reference to registration for this experience will open on June 29th. The course content will go live the same day. Independent learning for 2 weeks. All families with MidHigh youth who signed up for the summer camp will have registration information. Registration is key. Help us share critical info with your dates and times of activities, links of resources, help desk, and the help desk hotline. It also will help us figure out how many support staff to hire. We appreciate your contribution, as this will help us measure impact for this program. So your input is greatly appreciated. Timely registration is appreciated as well. For our elementary youth, We don't want to forget our younger elementary age participants. We realize that independent learning within a resource library will be difficult for younger audiences. We want to offer simple electronic projects to do at home. We've developed 3 project prompts: building a circuit and switch, conductivity tests, paper circuit cards. These prompts will be available for free online on the resource library. Kits will be included and with printed directions. We can provide free kits to 20 youth and will ship directly to your home in the area. After first, After the first 20 are gone, we will sell these kits at cost to be no more than $25 each. That would include shipping and include supplies for all 3 projects. Elementary youth registration. Sign-ups for the kits will also take place on June 29th. There will be an option to request a free kit or purchase one at cost. All families with elementary youth signed up for camp will be notified. We ask that families in need request these kits. Supplies are relatively inexpensive and available online and in stores. You can buy and receive kits at cost from DHF. Our goal is to get kits shipped mid-July, around July 10th. In addition to these resources, we are looking to address the times. A lot has been going on in reference to social justice and equity, and we would like to provide a platform for our youth to discuss social justice and equity via virtual town halls. And of course, we want to keep the children engaged just to have fun. So we also will be offering virtual fun activities. In the chat box, I'm asking for you to provide feedback as some things that you think your child would enjoy, for both our elementary and high school youth. We're thinking of possibly movies or play dates virtually, and just to really have a good time. So you all know your children best. Please put in the chat box their interests and hobbies. For our important dates, June 29th is the registration. Again, June 29th, registration launches. Sign up for MidHigh with content available on the same day. July 13th, we will have more technical support for youth and families. July 10th, we will begin shipping out elementary electronic kits.
So that is the bulk of the information that we want to share with you all. We realize that there's a lot going on, so we want to open the call now to questions. We can start by answering any questions if they're in the chat, and Andrew, I'll kind of defer to you if there are questions there, and then we'll unmute all of our participants on the call. But of course, if you have any questions after this, please don't hesitate to reach out. Before the end of the call, we'll put Madonna and my contact information back up. But don't feel pressure if you to get all your questions out now. But yeah, Andrew, are there any questions in the chat currently?
There aren't any questions right there, but I would say instead of us unmuting everybody, just having folks unmute themselves, when we've muted people, they still can actually unmute themselves to ask questions. So we'll open it up that way, I think, as the easiest.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Angela Onima. I have 2 kids. So about the registration, I know when I registered, I got an email back for my daughter who is in middle school. But for my son who is in elementary school, I can't remember getting, that was when I registered, if it said the camp, he was on wait list. So what happens now with the registration since I have 2 kids? They've been attending camp, they've done the initial maker camps in the past.
So I can say for sure if what we can do is ensure that not just participants, but everybody who signed up for our wait list will get all the same registration information. We have, we have a complete database both for the wait lists and the regular camps, and we can make sure that for both youth we get the same. We'll contact you for both options, both elementary and mid-high. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I would love to be contacted for both. Yeah.
Perfect. Can do.
Additional piece that I'll add to that is perhaps part of your question is also, related to the fact that our summer camps were way oversubscribed in terms of we had a lot of people on the wait lists. We anticipate that because of the more independent nature of this work, that we won't have the same limitation on the number of signups. The only limitation that we had there is just the number of kits that we were planning on just being able to ship out to folks. But all that to say, we're not thinking that there's going to be the same limited seat capacity that we've seen for our in-person camps because of the different structure here. And we're also, this was sort of embedded in how Mary and Madonna were talking about it a little bit, but we are not auto-registering people for it because we know it is so different. And so, we are communicating with everybody about the opportunity to sign up, but we don't have a wait list structure set up that we're anticipating having to activate for this.
Yeah, so I will appreciate if we get the email for both the high school, mid-high, and the elementary also for some of us.
For sure. Yeah, we can definitely do that. And yeah, seconding what Andrew said, we realize that everybody's situations have changed over the last few months in a variety of ways. So yeah, the more the merrier. We have much fewer limitations in terms of we're not bound to a physical space.
Thank you.
Of course.
There's a question in the chat about the difference between the summer camps and the youth works, and just wanting to clarify, which ones are related to what, and maybe speaking a little bit to how the youth works program that we are running is structured, which I know wasn't part of the presentation, might give context for that.
Sure. So our YouthWorks program is also going to run from July 13th through August 14th. So there's going to be some shared capacity in terms of the help desk, but essentially the way the YouthWorks program is structured is that we will be working with about 100 youth for 5 hours a day for 5 weeks. They will have much more guided supports through that process. They'll be working with smaller cohorts of kids. So a group of anywhere between 10 and 15 youth will be working closely together. They'll be meeting every single day. We have job coaches that are specifically assigned and dedicated to them. All of this is part of our collaboration with the Mayor's Office of Economic Development. They will have much more direct contact points. But again, but the content itself is very, very similar. What will become open source and available through our resource library will be nearly identical. There will be some pieces that won't make as much sense because our youth in the independent learning model will not be meeting in designated cohorts. So those are the only pieces that will be different. But the content is very similar, if not the same, minus a few program-specific pieces. Andrew, do you have anything else to add to that model?
One additional note and a clarification from a question that was asked about the registration for YouthWorks. So YouthWorks has its own system for registration that closed earlier this year. The application for that opened up in January, and the YouthWorks program is a very structured program in which the youth have to qualify and have to go through a verification process. So the youth that are in our YouthWorks program have been through that process and are in communication with the Mayor's Office of Employment Development that runs that. So the difference between the structure is a lot of how we then can verify that those youth are working the set number of hours that they need to work and accomplishing the tasks that qualify for the YouthWorks program. But in our preparations for that, as we shifted the YouthWorks from the regular model that we have to this future of work, we said, let's do everything we can to open up this to as many people as possible. So even if folks have not gone through the YouthWorks registration process, if they're not part of that program, we said we want to open this up to as many people as possible. It won't have the same requirements in terms of being on the check-in calls and being a part of a cohort that you have to report on the work you're doing in that way, but it will be a freely available opportunity for anyone that would like to sign up for that. And we do think the content is really a valuable learning experience. So at this point, if you aren't in conversation with the mayor's office for the YouthWorks program, I would direct you there, but with the caveat that it is my understanding that that program is completely closed and they've made all the assignments. But I would encourage you to be looking into that for next year if that's something that you're feeling like would have been good for your child this year.
And we're all crossing our fingers that next year's process will be a lot simpler than this year has been. I know the last few months have been hectic for everybody. Andrew, are there any other questions in the chat?
There was one question about parents being notified. I think that's related to some of the stuff that I was speaking to just there about the YouthWorks in particular. In terms of registration for our program, we will have it set up such that you will get basically an instant notification. And then, as I was saying earlier, we aren't anticipating the need to activate a wait list. So it'll be much more, sort of showing up and starting. Now, because those first 2 weeks are much more flexible and independent, we're not anticipating there being sort of regular check-in and some of that communication coming from us more actively until the middle of July. But that's you should be notified immediately on the registration process for the June 29th registration date.
Yeah, and one note also on that 2 week period, that initial 2 week period is, while we may not be providing the same dedicated supports for those first 2 weeks, we do really encourage youth, families to reach out to us with the questions, concerns, struggles that you have, because that will help us build out the support system going forward. For instance, coming up with frequently asked questions and things, troubleshooting models that are more applicable to everybody.
And maybe, Madonna, I don't know if you want to speak for a minute to some of the parent supports, the parent guardian supports that are contemplated.
Yes, based on the initial help desk request and possible troubleshooting needed, we will provide resources that would allow them to go through independently, and also parent Zoom calls where we would actually allow you to ask questions, that we would have the proper staff and subject matter experts to assist you with your questions that you have. I wanted to also provide for Tower B or anyone else that might have a youth that is age 14 to 21. We are looking for Baltimore youth that would be willing to complete a survey and join a 30-minute group discussion. They will be paid $15 for their time. If you would like to, if you're interested, you can type interested and your email, or send it to me directly, and I will make sure you get that information.
Any other questions from the group?
There's a question about, do you have to live in Baltimore to participate in these programs? And the answer to that is no. For the ones that we've been talking about here with the open access, you could be sharing those with others that you know. And in fact, what might be interesting is if your child has a friend or a cousin that maybe lives somewhere else, to work sort of together on that, because they could do the same projects and check in with each other and do sort of a little show and tell that way. So, and these are the types of brainstorming activities and supports that we are thinking on some of those parent Zoom calls could be a good just sort of place to go and share with each other and hear from things that we're seeing about how to try to make the summer as productive and supportive, and just, we all know this is tough, and just trying to support in how we can. And obviously it's not ideal for any folks, but we want to sort of be supportive where and how we can.
Any other questions?
And feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a question directly. Maybe if you want to go to the next slide, though, just so folks have their contact information there.
Yeah, I'm going to go actually. I didn't add it at the end, so we're going to go all the way back. Yes. So this is my contact information and Madonna's contact information. You can also reach the general team if you have other general questions for DHF at contact@digitalharbor.org. But if you email one of us and we're not the right person, we'll be happy to direct you to anybody else. All right. If we don't have any other questions in the chat, we may end it there. We can also stay on the line for a couple minutes if anybody has questions they want to ask one-on-one or not to the group. We'll cut the recording here unless there are new questions that pop up. But yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining us. We're really grateful for your time this evening. We're grateful for folks who may be watching this recording after the fact. Grateful for your questions and any feedback that you can give us. We're particularly interested in gauging interest and seeing how this supports you and your youth. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Any closing thoughts, Madonna or Andrew?
No, the same. I definitely appreciate you all and your patience and cooperation in these different times. I look forward to working with you all and your children this summer.
And I'll just echo that thank you, and also just saying, like, we miss having you all in the space. We miss being in the space and being able to yeah, just do the normal things. But we know that as we do these, we will find new and sort of innovative ways to continue to make creative and problem solving a core feature and identity for our youth, and that they will be resilient and sort of engaged in these ways. And so we're confident that there's and hopeful about the path forward, but yeah, just really appreciate and miss all of you in person.
All right then. Well, everybody take care, stay safe, have a good evening tonight, and we look forward to connecting with you over the summer.